what's up, my dudes? Got us a 2020 Washougal MX Park track here, boys. So, yeah, nice little, what is this, morning time, midday time, morning practice? Not really sure, but this track just came out, so, yeah, I think this is actually the final pro replica track of this year for MX versus ATV All Out. So, yeah, it's kind of coming to an end. Okay, let me remember how to play this game again. Dude, it is one of the most confusing things, I swear to God, going from like 10 different kind of motocross games constantly. You know, I'll go play MX Simulator, then I'll go play MX Bikes, then I'll go play Monster Energy Supercross 3, then I'll go play MX GP1, MX GP2, MX GP3, then I'll go play Reflex, then I'll go play a mobile motocross game. I mean, it just like gets insane, dude. Like, your brain cannot remember all that. Like, it's just so much to try to do all at once. But, yeah, either way, some of you boys should go add me up on Snapchat. Spencer Turley, no spaces and no capital letters. I try to put some cool updates and stuff on there for you guys. So, yeah, man. Holy Toledo. We'll go take a look at the previous Washougal year track in this game as well to try to take a look at that. Try to do a little comparison. My hands are a little wet. Yeah, good excuse, Spence. Never heard that one before, bud. Dude, that really is one big thing, though. Like, some of you boys that get real into MX Simulator or, you know, try to get real competitive in some of these motocross games, like, wash your hands with soap before you play the game. I'm telling you, it will help you play the game better. Instead of sitting there with your Dorito-ridden fingers and trying to play MX Simulator, like, good Lord, dog. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage, I'm just telling you. So, you know, Spencer Turley guide video, wash your hands, right? But either way, so I can't really tell any super differences right off the bat on this from the previous year, so not really too sure. I know they have gotten a little more into changing the pre-made ruts on some of the latter 2020 replica rounds. So these ruts do seem a little different, but we'll go take a look here in a second. The roughness seems a little different too. Seems like it's a little more roughness on this track than the previous Washougal track. So, but I don't really know for sure. Is that not just a bizarre thing, riding on some of these, like, you know, official tracks in this game and some of the replica tracks on MX Simulator and shit when, like, we haven't even actually raced there in real life this year? Isn't that kind of, I don't know, there's just something weird about that to me. It definitely giving me a weird vibe. It just gives it a certain feeling when you know that they're going to be racing at that track, or they have already raced at that track that particular year, and then you're getting that exact replica track in whatever kind of game for that particular year, you know? It just gives it a whole different feeling when you know. I don't know for sure if they're going to Washougal this year in real life. I know there's quite a few of the normal rounds that they're not going to be going to, but they might be, they might not be. I didn't really look at that too close, but obviously with them having 2 Redbud rounds and then 1 round at Loretta Lynn's, and then only doing 9 rounds total, you could just imagine how many of the normal rounds that they're not going to be doing. There'll be like 4 or 5 of the normal rounds that they're not going to be doing. So why do I always do that on that jump? The world may never know, okay. But she's getting pretty deformed here already, that's for sure. But solid track, though, overall. Like, can't really complain too much about this one. Nice roughness for a Washougal, you know. Got that, I don't know, there's just something about, you know, whenever these replica national tracks get made in these games, I just expect it to be rough. I just expect it to be beat up, pre-made wise, you know. So when they try to come out there sometimes with like the Redbud track of this year and MX Simulator's Redbud, for the love of God, and some of these other AMA modern day pro national replica tracks, I don't understand when some of these game companies and some of these, you know, RF people think they need to make it smoother. It doesn't make sense. It's one thing if you're trying to make like a prepped or like whatever kind of version, or you're, you know, and it was one thing when those kind of tracks were smoother back in the day, but nowadays it's just, you gotta have it a certain level of roughness, rut, pre-made, you know, kind of vibe going on. So either way, I've been jacking around with some of my microphone settings, trying to get it better for live streaming. So we've been doing a couple of test live streamings here and there. I did one on Reflex, did one on Unleashed. So I appreciate all you boys that tuned into that. We got a lot more coming on that. My goal here is basically to start live streaming at least 2 or 3 times a week on top of daily videos. So we'll see if we can pop that off. But I like some of these little areas on this track. Let me die real quick. I like some of these areas on this track where you're kind of like jumping right over, barely jumping over a little ridge liner. This is definitely rougher than the previous year. No doubt, dude. Like, this is definitely, almost feels like twice as rough as the previous year. Huh. That is interesting. Seemed like that whole area, right, you know, that, you know, main first corner, first straightaway up the hill area was a lot smoother on the previous year's Washougal track. So, what the fuck? Okay. All right. Guess I'm not big hossing today. I don't know. Holy. But yeah, you can definitely feel the skill gap in it though, because like I'm scared to go fast on this track, like with how much roughness there is and how tight some of these corners curve and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like it definitely it gives me at least a little bit of a fear of like, oh shit, I might just go bouncing completely off the side of the track if I really try to hold this wide open all the way around the entire track, right? Whereas the worst thing you could ever have happen is when you're going wide open everywhere and there's no fear of anything. You know, there's no like risk or danger to anything. So that's when you know that you don't have enough skill gap in a track. But this definitely has some skill gap to it, which is good. Seems like they almost added like a bit of a quad type landing on that one where you jump back behind the, back behind the track there. Let me explain a section that I cannot explain real quick, okay? When I get back around to it, I'll try to show you. But I don't remember it being quite like that on the track before. Did they roll these puppies off a little bit or something? Those seem a little smaller. I could be wrong, though. It's just hard to remember back to, you know, some track that I didn't really ride a whole lot of laps on. Dude, I'm just so ready for that next MX versus ATV. I'm not going to, you know, sit around here and beat around the bush. Like, that's why I didn't get too super into All Out. I mean, it was like a fun game and all, and it was a nice step in the, you know, progression from how backwards they went after Reflex and trying to get their shit back together. It was definitely a nice step in the right direction, especially with these, DLC, AMA National Replica tracks and all that, but there's still just such a big side of me that is just wanting that next MX versus ATV game so bad. It's almost like it just feels a little pointless for me to really sit down and play All Out very much at this point, you know? It's just like I just want to play that more reflexy next MX versus ATV, whatever that next game is going to be. I just want to play that game so bad that it just kind of, it makes it worse when I come in here and play All Out, you know? It's like it makes me want that even worse, which is bad because then I don't know, it makes me kind of anxious about it, you know? So, but I'm just saying, that next MX versus ATV game, we're going to tear it up, dog. We're going to be all into it. Holy shenanigans. We're going to be popping off on it. So, look at the terrain deformation, though. Pretty solid on this track, dude. Look at that. Some nice little changing ruts within the pre-made rut. Pretty cool. Alrighty then. Multiple ruts in one rut, but yet they're still soft enough to where you can go in and out of the rut. Terrain deformed rut and pre-made rut, so that's cool. Let me get right up here, then we'll go take a look at the track before, kind of try to compare a little bit. Okay. This jump right here is the one I was talking about, though. See how there's almost like an extra little quad landing right there? Of course, I do a 5 into the roughness, but that's not what I was talking about, per se. Okay, let's go to the other track right quick. But, yeah, dude. So I think this is the last that they're going to do of this, like, DLC for All Out. I think the next thing we're going to get is the next MX versus ATV game, so that's kind of why I, started talking about that there, because I do think that's the next thing we're going to get. So, we'll see how that goes down, right? But it's got to be better than All Out, right? It's got to be. Now, I will say, if you thought that about reflex, that ain't really what happened after reflex, so you kind of got to be a little careful. Of course, I'm in some completely different weather effect mode here. Let's redo this so we can get in more of a normal standard daytime so we can try to compare better. But yeah, I do think that's one big thing they changed with the Washougal 2020 over the 19 one, or whatever this one was exactly trying to replicate, was it's a lot rougher on the newer 2020 one. That's one of the biggest things I felt on it. So let's try to get us a good time of day, baby. Let's spin that dice. Let's roll. Yeah, spin the dice, Spencer. Let's roll that dice, dog. Okay, we got a not exact time of day, but it's all right. Better than like super fog. Yeah, it's always that like RNG roll of what kind of time of day you're gonna. Yeah, look how much smoother that is, dude. Holy Toledo. That's quite a bit smoother. Like, a lot smoother. Like, there's still little pre-made kind of sort of little ruts, you know, on the track, but there's not a lot of roughness. That's what's so much different about the newer one. It's like they just amped up that pre-made roughness on it to a, you know, certain degree. You can almost jump over that little thing. You might actually be able to. They added a bigger inside rut in that corner. I can tell you that for sure. Look at all the shading, though. That was so cool. You know, all of the, it really does give you the vibe like you're in a morning practice session or something, so pretty solid. You gotta love that brownie makes dirt, dog. If you don't like this kind of dirt right here, I don't even know what to tell you. Don't even know what to tell you. It's just so many, like, practice mornings I can remember in real life racing that where the dirt was kind of like that, you know. It just got watered, like, it's that real brownie mixy. Oh, bro. Getting a little too excited over here. See? Yeah, see that right there? I knew I was right about that. It's only like a triple, basically a triple jump in that jump right there. Instead of on the newer one, they've kind of added an extra landing down the hill a little bit where it's more like a quad. So that's a little area. I think this wall area right here is a lot steeper, bigger than it is right there. So they definitely have changed quite a bit on this track, which is cool. Let's see about these. I guess these aren't really rolled off on the newer one. Basically, kind of sort of basically the same. Kind of sort of pretty much probably about the same. You know what I'm saying? But just overall, the track feels smoother, you know. You can just pretty much automatically go about twice as fast on this track as you can the newer one. Newer one's just got a lot more pre-made roughness everywhere. I think they had like 3 ruts in this corner on the newer one. This one's kind of just got like 2 on it. So it's cool. This older Washougal track kind of, you know, acts as a, like, look at that little water area. Kind of acts as more of a prepped version of Washougal before it's like beat up. And then that newer one's like second moto after everybody's tore the shit up, you know. It's kind of cool. You got 2 different versions of it, more like a prep version than a super rough version, which that's kind of what I was wanting them to accomplish with this 2020 replica national year, was try to really make it like a different, totally different pre-made design, to the point to where whatever track we'd gotten last year was like either a more prepped version or a more rough version or vice versa, whatever, you know, but you basically end up having 2 completely different versions of the tracks, with the certain tracks that they made again with the second, you know, round of AMA DLC tracks with the 2020 DLC tracks. And a lot of them, they just didn't seem to have changed them quite as much as I would have thought, or as much as I would have wanted, but they definitely did change the newer Washougal enough, in my opinion, for sure. So either way, I do like riding on this track too, though. This one's fun. See, they're both fun in their own way, and that's the key to making like different versions of tracks, right? You got to make them fun in their own way. And of course, this game, you can have a lot more of these like more prep style, smooth style tracks in a game like this, where it actually has a, you know, solid terrain deformation system. You can get away with having those kind of prep style tracks, not as much roughness and stuff, because then it's going to develop into something anyways, you know, so you kind of get something out of it no matter what. But either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.